Well, it's time for Mid-South Viewpoint, and we're going to have a great afternoon with some gentlemen that are excited about families, are excited also about the great outdoors, and welcome to this Mid-South Viewpoint program. I'm Byron Tyler, and Ron McSwain is here with us. Ron, it seems like about this time each year we get together and talk about the Expo, the Outdoor Expo that's happening at Germantown Baptist Church, but there's also a dinner connected with that. And we're going to talk about all those tasty dishes, but welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, Byron.
And we've got back with us Kevin Anderton, and we also have Tom Sampson. These guys have been with us in the past, and it's so good to have you gentlemen back in the studio. Have y'all spent much time in the great outdoors with a rod and reel in your hands since the last time we talked?
A lot of it, and that never gets old. And this feels like kind of a rite of passage to come here on Bot Radio Network and spend a February with you.
It's so much fun. And Tom, it's good to see you too. We're kind of sharing some microphones here, so let me get a quick hello so people can know that you are actually in the studio with us.
Oh yes, I'm actually here, and you talked about outdoors. Most of my outdoors is always cooking everything that these guys cook.
Are you the one that cooks those duck poppers and all that good stuff?
We do. We cook 6,000 duck poppers at one time on one big grill. So, like I said, we got a great crew cooking for us, and looking for some great food.
Well, we also want to welcome one of my friends, longtime friends. His family's been friends with mine for so many years. Brodie Swisher, who is NRA's Great American Game Calling World Champion, and Brodie, I don't know when you started trying to call turkeys or call hogs, but anyway, you're a champion at it.
Yes, sir. It's quite a unique contest we did with NRA some years ago, but a jack of all trades contest. We called 7 different species of animals in that. So, it's, like I said, kind of a jack of all trades. You had to know a little bit about a variety of creatures, and from ducks and geese to turkey and predator, a little bit of everything. So a lot of fun.
Well, and it's interesting how this all kind of developed into a ministry for you. We want to get into that. I know your folks real well. I know your dad is an outdoorsman. So was that just growing up? You spent a lot of time with your brothers and, of course, your sister too. I mean, I'm sure she probably likes the outdoors. But tell me about growing up and what outdoors meant for you and your family.
Absolutely. My dad did teach me the ways of the outdoors from an early age, 7, 8 years old, and started with the squirrel hunt back behind our house there in Arlington, and years and years ago. And it just grew for me into a passion, for the hunting, the outdoors. My other brothers went into more athletic sports and football and baseball and everything else. But for me, it was hunting and the outdoors and just the connection to the Lord through that and what I got to experience there. And so I kind of went that path. And as you said, it became not only a passion, but a ministry and a calling for me years later. And this contest opened up that door as well, just to be able to go and speak at these different events, expos, and wild game dinners and banquets. And it just turned into an opportunity because of the sounds of the call. But whether you hunt or not, it doesn't matter if it's a man, woman, boy, or girl. Hearing the sounds of wildlife is entertaining just to hear it, and a lot of fun. And so it just really opened the door and gave me a platform to use hunting the outdoors to reach people for the Lord.
Well, you don't have to pull the string back on a bow, or you don't have to put your finger on a trigger to enjoy the outdoors, as you mentioned. And it is a great time, especially for dads, to spend times with their daughters and sons. We want to make sure that we include those girls and having those special moments, and not just dad, the whole family, getting together and seeing creation. But give us some background of how this transitioned into a ministry and how you saw you could use the fact that you are NRA's Great American Calling World Champion, along with other accolades from your ability to call wild animals, how you saw that transition into an opportunity for a ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember back in the late 90s, some of my buddies and even maybe some family members, said, you're crazy for thinking you can use something like hunting in the outdoors as a ministry. I think a lot of folks are skeptical, thinking this is just Brodie wanting to try to go and hunt a little more, go out and justify his hunting with his wife or his family or whatever. And, I prayed about it a lot, and God really gave me the green light back in the late 90s to use my passion, and just made it clear, Brodie, use your passion and to make a difference. I grew up under Adrian Rogers down there, one of the greatest of all time, and I remember him talking about that so many times, saying, hey, each person's got to find their passion and use it. There's going to be people that Byron can't reach because of the scope of the field he's in, and other people can't reach, the preacher or whoever, but God's placed us in a unique calling, and using our passions is how we need to be reaching those folks. And he gave me the green light to do that. And
wow,
man, I just never look back.
You mentioned Adrian Rogers. I remember, of course, he originally was from the West Palm Beach area, Merritt Island. He pastored the church there before he came to Memphis back in the early 70s. And when he came to Memphis, he was towing a little 1 or 2 man sailboat that he used to keep by his house. I remember I've been over there and saw that sailboat. And so I know that he enjoyed the outdoors too, probably fishing and spending some time in that boat. But we all need some time to get away. There's something about the outdoors and doing it with your family. I've got some great adventures with my boys. I remember when my first son was probably about 6 years old, I decided it was time to take him on a camping trip. And we went up to Fall Creek Falls, which is one of the most beautiful state parks. It ranks in the top 10 in the country. I think even the public golf course there. I mean, the deer and just the outdoors. But I remember he still talks about that trip. He still talks about the time of us setting that tent up. He still talks about the skunk that came through our campsite, and we just have some great memories, And so there's something about saying, for family getting together and outdoors, and what Germantown's doing, what they've been doing, Germantown Baptist has been doing for, my goodness, Ron, how many years have you guys been doing this?
I know a dozen or more for sure.
We actually ask ourselves that question.
Yeah.
When did we start this? And it's been a while, 12
It's
or
long.
15 years.
It's probably 15 years.
Yeah. And of course, and I know, Kevin, a lot of churches are organizing events like that. I'm sure, Brodie, you probably travel all over the country and attend similar events, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, I'm biased to it, but I don't think there's a greater outreach for reaching unchurched, disconnected individuals, men, families. There's just no better way to reach that man.
Yeah.
Maybe his wife goes to church with the kids. He won't come to anything else, but I promise you, this is one that'll get him. And it's an incredible outreach opportunity, no doubt.
Well, as Tom mentioned just a moment ago, he's kind of the master of the grill. And so, Tom, we're going to go ahead and spend a little time with you and talk about some of the food, because, I mean, you're actually taking some of these wild game dishes. We're talking about deer chili, smoked wild hog, duck poppers. Didn't we used to call those things duck d'oeuvres or something?
We actually do duck d'oeuvres, duck poppers, kind of the same thing. We just kind of put our own little twist to them. We've got some pheasant this year. We've got wild rabbit, turkeys, and for the kids, this is really truly a family event. We're doing chicken fingers for the kids, so there'll be plenty to eat for kids. Matter of fact, even have some pizza there. So we encourage you listeners out there to bring the whole family, because this is a real family event.
Yeah. So really, there's no excuse. You say, "Oh, I can't eat, a deer. I can't eat Bambi." I mean, you're going to have some things there for people to eat who don't want to experiment or maybe, take that first leap of faith.
Well, there are probably over 18 different items on the board. Obviously, we're going to have some barbecue. I mean, this is Memphis. And as I mentioned, there'll be food for the kids. So,
and you can smoke a whole hog.
We're going to do regular barbecue, but we will smoke a whole hog and have it there for everybody to. If you want to taste stuff, we've got we'll pull meat right off the hog and put it right on your plate.
I'll tell you, there's nothing like it. I'll tell you, I remember when we lived on the island of Guam, we used to smoke those hogs out on the beach, and going to a dinner like that and getting that fresh barbecue, but. And even the meat like deer, I mean, you guys know how to prepare that in a way that it just really, it tastes like chicken, doesn't it?
Well, no, it does not taste like chicken. But we've got some deer chili. We'll actually have some buffalo burgers, buffalo poppers. So there's quite a bit different there. Some of the other things that we're doing, we're going to have some photo ops for the children. We'll have a huge grizzly bear there, which the kids really love. We'll have some boats there. Actually, we're going to have a pontoon boat that's kind of the king of the crappie fishing fleet, and so there'll be a lot there for the family to become involved in.
And
Yeah, Byron, TWRA is bringing an inflatable archery range for kids.
really,
It really is. The arrows are safe. They've got a ball on the end of them and all that. And
so the parents don't have to worry about anything.
they don't have to worry about a thing. And we got a separate room also set up with all types of games for kids. So the small children can they can leave their small children there. There's going to be pastors and kids pastors as well as their wives there to assist with the kids. And that way the adults can go down the expo and participate and maybe buy some things like that.
Kevin, I understand the doors open at 4.
That's right. Doors open at 4, and dinner will be served at 6. And for the people listening out there who don't have a hunting or outdoor background, don't be dissuaded because of wild game. This is going to be wild game prepared by people who know how to do it. So this is a great chance for somebody to kind of explore and say, well, I've never had buffalo. I've never had venison. I've never had duck poppers. I've never had any of this kind of stuff. So it'll be tremendous food.
If you know how to prepare it, you can actually get that wild taste out of it, and it's just incredible. The flavor, you'll be tasting some savory flavors that you've never had, and you'll want more of.
A lot of people who don't know how to cook wild game, there's less fat in wild game. So a lot of people, if you cook it the same way you would a steak or that kind of thing, it can be dry. Believe me, the people at our church know what they're doing when they're preparing this food. It's going to be absolutely fat.
Now, Brodie, as you travel and do similar events like that, tell me about the interaction you have with people and some of the people you meet and how you've seen this to be able to maybe be, as you mentioned, a stepping stone for people who typically wouldn't walk into a church.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the beauty of these is it's just a great opportunity for folks to bring somebody with them. So many times I go and I'll have somebody come up to me after the event or at the booth and say, "Hey, this is so-and-so, my neighbor, brought with me tonight. This is my cousin. Has never been to one of these before." And, always being introduced to people that have never been to an event like this. They've never been to church. They've never been to any kind of anything that was just an outreach effort, spiritual challenge in their lives. And over again, I hear that. And so that's the beauty of these. Again, just a chance to bring folks out, something different, something new. Like they said, there's going to be incredible foods for folks to sample that have never had anything like it. There's going to be tons of prizes and giveaways. I'll be giving away stuff from the stage. I'll be bringing kids up to get involved on stage. And so there's just something there for everybody. And but again, I think it's just the uniqueness of it. It's something that people don't mind bringing and sharing the word and bringing somebody with. And those are some of the stories I hear is when I have people come up and say, "Hey, man, I brought my dad with me tonight. He's 75 years old. He's come to this thing for 6 years. Tonight he gave his life to the Lord." And that kind of stuff is huge for me. That's
my goodness. Yeah. Hey, Brodie, take us into the preparation as you get ready to enter one of these, the world champion. I mean, you're a world NRA Great American Game World calling world champion. As you prepare for one of these championships, what do you have to do that and get ready? And what's the competition like?
Sure. Yeah. It's, I'll say this, it's a very, like anything, very stressful preparation, just because you are, again, trying to, in this particular calling style, you're trying to, mimic 7 different animals, and you would do a medley of sounds for those 7 different species. And so just a lot of practice on the front end, really listening to those different sounds. So it comes from guys that have been duck hunting for a lot of years. They know the sounds ducks make and all the variety of sounds they make. And so knowing those animals, knowing the sounds they make. And again, this being kind of a unique contest, that it was allowed for a lot of extra creativity, throwing in those other sounds that people might not think of, just those natural sounds that wildlife make. And so.
Well, hey, listen, but can we stop a second? I know you're on the telephone right now, but could you possibly give us a sample of some of the calling that you can do? I mean, we could kind of get a taste of it.
Sure. Let me see what I've got, because I do have right here in my office. I've got my bag of tools, and I don't know how or if this will play out over the phone. But turkey season's coming, and we'll be talking turkey and eating turkey that night. And I love the opportunity to give folks the opportunity to hear that sound of those animals that we encounter in the woods. But the wild turkey, everybody knows that wild turkey, he gobbles. And this is an old film canister, old 35 millimeter film canister I still use. And it's just got a latex balloon, cut up latex balloon stretched across it. And I'll use it to gobble with. Sounds something like this here. And so, like I said, I don't know how if that comes across.
Oh my goodness! There's actually turkeys flying, trying to get into our building right now. I can see them flying through trying to get to the window.
I'm just trying to pinpoint the sound so I can get about 100 yards and settle up next to an oak tree and get about 100 yards from there and start calling that gobbler in.
That's right.
Well, that's great. Give us something else if you got it.
Yeah, let's see. Here's that old owl, and some people ask why in the world would you have an owl call? You can't hunt owls, but an owl is going to make that turkey gobble. And so here's the sound of that owl.
My
that
goodness.
old owl. And then that hen turkey, like a lot of the young ladies we know out there, the young ladies seem to do a lot of the talking. That's how that hen. Us boys, the gobble, we do the yelp and sound something like this. Loud, raspy, old hen sound. And so I'm trying to think what else I got here. We'll have all kind of sound.
Well, we don't want to let too much out of the bag. We want you to be able to we want to whet people's appetite to make them want to come and taste these duck d'oeuvres and hear those calls and just have a great time with the family. And there's no age limit, is there, Kevin? I mean, we're talking, it's young or as old as you can come. I mean,
no, we've got people bring, 1-year-old, bring infants. And the way it works is children 12 or under is $5. Over 13 or over is it's $15. It's $20 at the door. So we encourage people to go online at germantownbaptist.org and purchase tickets there, but you can purchase tickets at the door.
Okay. Now I want to go back to Tom a second because I was looking just now, Tom, and you have got this big gold ring on your right finger that says barbecue. So that must make you some kind of master.
Well, that's a two-time world champion ring for barbecue. So whenever we talk about an expo at Germantown Baptist Church, we bring champions together. That's why we've invited Brodie, not only because he's a great game caller and also a good brother, but he's also a champion. And champions kind of stick together, evidently.
Wow. I mean, I'm just humbled to be in your presence. I didn't realize, you've been on the show in the past. You didn't tell me that you were a two-time world champion. Ron, where are you getting these guys?
They're all members of Germantown Baptist Church. We got champions over there.
Yeah. And I know, of course, Dr. Charles Fowler, we want to mention that he's the senior pastor there. And I'm sure he'll be out with his, maybe he can have a little competition with Brodie. Yeah.
We could do that.
But, okay, now, so as we mentioned, doors open at 4, 6 o'clock's the dinner. You can go to the website and get tickets, can't you?
Yes, you can at germantownbaptist.org /outdoor expo.
Okay. Hey, Brodie, when you're thinking about some of the outings that you've had on your adventures, man, I looked at your website and, we've got the great Jack Parnell that voiced the commercial promoting your event. And we made a little video. I don't know if you've seen it or not on social media. And I posted I posted some of your pictures of you at these game. I mean, tell me some of the places you've traveled, some of the experiences, maybe something that it's happened to you out in an event or an outing that you were not expecting.
Well, yeah, we've I've had the opportunity blessed to hunt around the country from Florida to Washington State, and for turkey and elk and antelope and deer and a little bit of everything. And it's just been good, a variety of games. It's been a lot of neat experiences. But I oftentimes go back to, as far as just one of the most incredible experiences was also a low point, a high and a low, what you might expect on the mountain, chasing elk. And I went out the year of the terrorist attack. We were supposed to fly out on 9/11, go elk hunting in Idaho. It's been my first elk hunting trip. Obviously, when the attacks took place in New York, all the flights were shut down, and my buddy and I were just pushing to go, and so we jumped in the truck and we took off and went out there. And there'd been so much planning and preparation and all the stuff that went on, and I was just obsessed with this elk hunt and overcommitted, over obsessed with it, and to the point of neglecting my family. And I remember sitting on the mountain up there and thinking, this is what I've been dreaming about doing all this time, and just being miserable sitting on the top of the mountain one of those days, knowing that I had the reality check that I had really just neglected my family and put this hunt above everything else, and so consumed with it, it kind of became a priority in my life just that whole month leading up to it. And the Lord just really nailed me between the eyes on that hunt, sitting on top of that mountain in Idaho, the week following that terrorist attack, and just said, hey man, there's so much more. The hunt, don't get caught up in the hunt, that you get your priorities out of line with me, with your family. And God's so faithful to do that. I love being in the woods because I experienced him as close there as anywhere else. I'm not saying it's going to replace church or anything, but I've grown closer to the Lord sitting out there and having that time one-on-one with him, whether on the mountain, here in the South, in a tree stand or whatever. And so that was one when the Lord spoke to me big time. And probably the highlight of my life is 2 years ago, sitting in the deer stand with ground blind with my son Easton, and I got to lead him to the Lord while sitting in the deer blind. And we'll talk about that a little bit coming up next week. But that to me, I don't think there's any better place for a child to give his life to the Lord than in the deer stand. It may be a little redneck, but it was an awesome time. And it's, again, one of the highlights of my life.
Well, especially being with his dad, that makes it so much more special. And gentlemen, Brodie made a great point there just now when he talked about it doesn't have to be the outdoors, but there's a lot of men who probably listening today that they're passionate and they're spending so much time in their business and their jobs and maybe on the golf course or another hobby they have that they're neglecting their families. And this really helps. This event at Germantown Baptist that you guys are putting on is going to help maybe show these men how they can maybe change some of their priorities. You think so, Tom?
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I sure hope so. We wanted to include the family in this event, and we started 2 or 3 years ago doing that. That's why we have the kids' games. That's why we encourage. Matter of fact, we have 37 vendors that are going to be there, and a lot of these vendors will have products that will appeal more to the woman than it will to the outdoorsman. So, as I mentioned, we really truly want to include the entire family in this event. Yeah,
and Kevin, again, the website, germantownbaptist.org, get tickets. You can also get more details, but other things that we need to know about before Saturday, March 2nd.
Well, just be prepared to come with an appetite because it's going to be fantastic. We usually have in this event anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people. I mean, it's a big event, but we have lots of lines of tables. You're going to get through it quick. Everybody's going to have a fantastic time. And it's a great time of year because we're just kind of coming out of the hunting season, so we've got a lot of game that's been donated, and it's a great time to kind of celebrate that as a family together and as a church together and as a group of believers, and even unsaved, unchurched people can come to this thing and learn a lot, have a great time, and then hey, before you know it, it's turkey season.
Hey, one quick thing before we say goodbye to Brodie, I wanted you to comment if you would. Some might say, what about conservation in, the outdoors and you're just going out and shooting Bambi? They hate to think about that, but talk about the conservation side. I mean, usually people like yourself who are great hunters and sportsmen have a big heart for conservation and do a lot to preserve the outdoors too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what, unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, you hunters, you're so cruel going out there and killing animals. But Tennessee has just been, our deer herd has just been diagnosed with a disease called chronic wasting disease, CWD. And there's other diseases out there. And a lot of these diseases, we're still figuring them out. But a lot of these diseases that wildlife get are because the population has grown too large to accommodate. The carrying capacity for deer, our deer herd, is overgrown. And if we don't manage that, if we don't keep it in check, and have dominion, as the Lord said, over these animals, and they get out of balance. They get the population to get too large, and then they get these diseases. And I was just looking at some photos today for an article we're working on these diseases, and it's sad to see how these deer suffer. These diseases come on them. They get just nasty looking, and it's just a very sad, slow death for them. And so we tell people, hunting is a quick and humane way to manage these deer. Utilize that meat to feed families, feed folks that are hungry, and whereas the alternative is for those animals to die a slow death from disease, and nobody'd be able to utilize that. And so hunting is a very efficient. It's very very much something we need to be doing as a resource for the harvest here that we have. God's blessed us with an awesome opportunity to see and to experience the wildlife, but we also have to manage that, keep that where it's in a healthy position. And so that's what hunting does for deer, turkey, all the wildlife we manage across the state.
That's a good word. Ron, I grew up in a single parent home. About 10 or 11 years old, my mom saw a paper in the ad in the paper about a gun safety course for Tennessee gun safety course. And I remember taking that so I could learn the proper way to handle, a weapon and know how to clean it and know how to go out on a hunt. We actually did a little deer hunt, local. Is that certificate, or that still going? Is somebody from the Tennessee Wildlife, will they be there?
Yes, they will. The Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency will be there, and they'll be glad to share with you all the information that they have.
Yeah, they have a lot to offer, so I think that's another good word there too. Okay, so let's kind of wrap it up, gentlemen, and let folks know all of the good details, plus the food that Tom's going to be. Tom, when will you start cooking this food?
Well, we've actually started preparing a lot of this. Doing wild game, a lot of it needs to be marinated in a fashion to take away the wild game taste. So we've technically even started today, and then of course we'll get heavy into it a couple days before, Thursday and Friday before the big event. And of course we'll be cooking a lot of it fresh that day, right out of the event. Take it straight from the grill to the table.
Yeah, we got one last thing. We've got some very exciting door prizes this year. We've got 2 fishing trips with guides. We've got a brand spanking new kayak that's going to be given away.
Wow.
We've got a duck print that Ducks Unlimited is giving, and Strike King Lures out of Collierville has given us an enormous amount of high-priced lures that we're going to be just giving away.
Yeah, we were talking the other day. We like to make this an event almost like Christmas. Everybody's going to get a lot of stuff, and we have so much stuff donated. Believe me, come enjoy the fellowship and tons of door prizes, great giveaways. It'll be a fun time. Had by all.
Brodie, give us a final word before we say goodbye.
Hey, I'm bringing my crew with me down there, and I want to encourage everyone to do the same. Bring your families out. It's going to be a great time. I look forward to meeting some new friends there and catching up with some old ones. And so join us next Saturday. Looking forward to the time. Delicious food, games for kids, door prizes, outdoor exhibits, deer chili, duck poppers, smoked whole hog, chicken tenders, a whole lot more. Games for the kids. You don't want to miss it at Germantown Baptist Church. Matter of fact, I think it's 9450 Germantown, Poplar Avenue. 9450 Poplar Avenue in Germantown. You can't miss it, right on Poplar Avenue there. Plenty of parking. Bring the family out. Enjoy. Get your tickets right now. Hurry and do that. The address to go on the website is germantownbaptist.org, germantownbaptist.org. Gentlemen, God bless you. It's always great to get you in the studio. Sorry to cramp you in so tight. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thanks, Byron.
Friends, that's all the time we have on this edition of Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Hey, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you next time. And for our friends on YouTube, where we're doing this live, thank you so much for joining us, getting a chance to hear from the great Brodie Swisher, NRA's world champion caller. I mean, he's calling everything, as you heard. But be sure and check out his website, brodieswisher.com, germantownbaptist.org. Like the page and subscribe to my channel. We appreciate you. Thanks so much.